Good afternoon, EFD squad, and welcome back to the Euro Roundup, where you select all winners and losers from the weekend just past on the continent, obviously, hence the title. I'm joined by Patrick Van Straten, as always, and we start this week's winners in Italy. This one comes from at Mad City, obviously a massive Kendrick fan, and we've got to smoke this week's episode, haven't we? Because we've got to shoot hot takes after this. So let's absolutely bash one out, bash it out.
Yep. I'll just take over from there, I think. Inter Milan, the most informed team in Serie A at the moment, as they continue a 7-match winning streak with a 5-0 battering of Genoa. Goals from Politano, João Mario, Nainggolan and 2 from Gagliardini. Very impressive stuff. Their biggest win since March when they beat Sampdoria 5-0. And even better, they did this one without Mauro Icardi. So you could have been worried going into this game. You know, they were coming up against one of the best, one of the most informed strikers in the league. They were lacking their own. Maybe they thought that this would be a bit grindy, but Gagliardini got his first and second goals of the season, and it's the first time he's ever scored a brace in Serie A. A very comfortable victory on the day. João Mario, who, watching the highlights, we were like, is that João Mario? He was man of the match in this game. First time he's assisted in Serie A since September 2017 even, and he actually got 2 on the day. Jokes. Anyway, the game itself was very one-sided. Scoreline probably flattered Inter a little bit. Expected goals had them at about 3. Genoa at basically 0. So you'd expect them to keep a clean sheet, but their finishing was exceptional. Absolutely horrifying defending from Genoa. I mean, genuinely watching it, it looks like a training match.
Yeah, this was typical Inter Milan, wasn't it? Creating high-quality chances from wide positions, but instead of Icardi being on the end of them, which he was for about 40% of Inter's goals last campaign, it was their defensive midfielder, Gagliardini. I think they scored 3 goals from a combined 3.5 yards out. So not great defending from the Genoese, and we can make sense of their recent form as a result. Not won in their last 5 games, despite Piatek, or Piontek, if you want to pronounce it correctly, but it just looks weird to me, running really hot. Now, they have this joint second worst defence in Serie A, with 24 goals conceded, and this game really brought that to light, didn't it? The back 3, which consists of Barasci, Romero and Gunter, who is the odd one out there, only managed 4 tackles between them, and manager Ivan Juric has had a problem with his defence this season as a result of it being extremely young, with David Barasci the oldest at 24. Probably not experienced enough to manage the attacking talents of Inter Milan in this game.
Yeah, and when you think about actually defenders generally in Serie A are that little bit older. You know, you look at Miranda on the other side; he's pretty old enough to be most of those guys' dads.
Yeah, and it's thanks to the experience of people like Miranda, of the athleticism and all-round game of Skriniar, that Inter actually have the tightest defence in Serie A this campaign, only having conceded 6, which is the same as Atletico over in Spain. I think roughly the same as Manchester City and Liverpool, although we've played 1 game fewer over here. So amongst elite company on the defensive end. Genoa now sit 13th, so despite that awful run of form lately, no reason to push the panic button yet, but they do face Napoli next weekend, and Piontek/Piatek is being hunted by several of Europe's top clubs, so they might be testing Genoa's resolve come January, and they'll need to come up with another solution in the winter transfer market, because he was their solution this season for lack of goals last season, along with 4 other strikers. So they could be back to square one come January. Anyway, Inter, on the other hand, face Barcelona in the Champions League. So you expect that to be another tight game, difficult game for them. And then face Atalanta in the league, competing for a top 4 at current, aren't they? Not Atalanta, Inter that is, but Atalanta, a really impressive season last season. Statistically, you were telling me the second best.
Supposedly so. So it should be quite an interesting game. And I think Inter look like they're good money to finish second at the moment.
Retained a lot of their stars, didn't they, Atalanta? Didn't part with anyone massive in the summer. Anyway, moving on to the next team.
Our first loser of the week are Bayern Munich. This comes from at Swinford Adrian. It looked like things were getting better for them. What has happened now?
What's German for losers? Let us know in the comments below. Yes, Bayern's 4-game winning streak has been halted by Freiburg following that 1-1 draw with a 10th placed side. Now Kovac will be very frustrated with this result, as Bayern dominated yet again. This has been a recurrent theme in the league for them. 72% possession, 24 shots to Freiburg's 10, with 6 coming on target. Freiburg scoring with their only effort on Manu Neuer's goal. Anyway, Bayern did take the lead on the 80th minute with man of the match Serge Gnabry gliding unopposed into the opposition's box, slotting it into the corner with his first Bundesliga goal for Bayern. So off in that regard, but 8 minutes later, that didn't matter. The scoreline was level. Freiburg's Lucas Höhler scoring his second of the season. He's only got 175 minutes of football under his belt. That was his 5th appearance of the season. So
clinical
from him.
Ruthless.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're taking from that. That goal also meant that Manny Neuer, who along with Alaba was celebrating his 200th Bundesliga appearance for Bayern, has conceded 8 goals from his last 8 shots he's faced on target. Sort of having a De Gea-esque start to the season, isn't it?
Wow.
Anyway, I'm sure that'll level out. A massive change from the previous meetings with these sides. Bayern have scored 13 in the last 3 against Freiburg, only conceded 1. So normally they're absolutely rolling them over. But, I mean, that's the case with most sides in the Bundesliga, isn't it? And Bayern just not as good at the start of this campaign, or more inconsistent, if not a little bit unlucky, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, normally you see a lot of goals shared around the squad. This season, though, they've only got 7 players who've scored in the Bundesliga, whereas Dortmund have 14. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a problem. Like, you don't need everybody to get on the score sheet, but previously it was an indication of how dominant Bayern were, that pretty much everybody would score. You know, Hummels would score from open play at some point.
And if only 7 people are scoring, if Lever's not running red hot, then you've probably got a little bit of a problem.
Well, also at the beginning of the season, Lever looked in really bad form. His shot numbers were down, his expected goals per 90 was down. In fact, James Rodriguez was leading the team in that. But now, I think he's up to 1.8 goals per 90 at the moment. He can't stop scoring. And that's even better than last season, where he managed 1.2, though, of course, that was over the whole of the campaign. They are still third, and Kovac has obviously got some time now. They're unbeaten in 3 Bundesliga games, so his hope will be that they'll steadily improve. When you look at where they were last season, they're only actually 3 points now behind where they were then. But once you drill into it a bit more, bit disappointing. They've scored 6 goals fewer. They've conceded 4 goals more. Anyway, next up for them, things get really real. They face Dortmund, who of course are in red hot form. It's actually the first time since the 2011-12 season that when these two sides have met, Dortmund are ahead in the league, and of course they went on to win the Bundesliga in that campaign. It still feels like Bayern should have enough, and it still feels like the wheels are not going to come off the wagon, but are going to be wobbling a little bit on Dortmund as the season goes on. So I think that Bayern, I'd still put my money on Bayern winning the league, wouldn't you?
I would, yes, but... And I am waiting on bated breath for Dortmund just to get rolled over one week by a Schalke or Werder Bremen or something. But like you've said, a lot of players shielding the responsibility and a lot of emerging talent. So if they can add wisely in January, if they can maintain this form until January, I expect it to be an awful lot closer. Who do you think would be a good signing in January for Dortmund?
For Dortmund?
Maybe that could be the title.
Ooh. God, do they try and get that Paco deal wrapped up permanently? Do they bring in another central midfielder? I don't really know. I think their squad's pretty decent. Maybe another centre-back, actually, just to supplement a very young core of defenders.
Yeah, maybe it's an experienced head, and that's a nice situation to be in, isn't it? Diallo, Akanji, a lot of good players back there. So, yeah, who should Dortmund sign? Let us know in the comments below. At Jack065118841, sort that out, you little rat bag, has suggested Barcelona for our last victors, and I feel like they're lucky to get in this week because they only edged Rayo Vallecano out by a very small margin, didn't they?
Yeah, they scored 2 late goals to seal a 3-2 away victory, but that does put them 4 points clear at the top of La Liga. So it's perhaps a little bit more understandable. After a messy start to the season, they're starting to pull away, and maybe this is the beginning of a little bit of a return to the Barcelona we'd expect them to be. Suarez put them ahead early on from Jordi Alba, cut back, but 22-year-old Jose Pozo, who you may remember actually played for Man City before came through their youth academy, I believe. He scored with an excellent strike from 25 yards. And there was a big scare for Barca when the Franjirojos went ahead in the 57th minute. Alberto Garcia scored with his first touch since coming on. That would have actually brought them just their 2nd league win this campaign. Not a good start for Rayo. It was actually Garcia's first goal since scoring for Cadiz against Barcelona B in the Segunda División last season. What an occasion. He just bangs against the Catalans. Anyway, Dembele, 5th goal in 12 games this season, brought them level in the 87th minute. And of course, the last minute, Luis Suarez appears again, sliding at the back stick to secure the win. He's got 5 goals in his last 2 games, leads the race for the Spanish Golden Boot with 9 goals overall. That means that he's got 1 every 102 minutes. Can you name the 2 players who've scored at a faster rate? One of them's Messi.
No, I'm going to leave that for the fans at home. Little hint though, he did play for Middlesbrough. And with regards to Suarez, we pretty much called this a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? He was still averaging very good shot numbers, getting a lot of shots off in good positions in the box. He was just a bit unfortunate. I think he was still averaging between 4 and 5 shots a game. So he's kind of reaping his rewards for that consistency now. 5 in 2. Get in there, Louis. Now, this game was a little bit tough on Rayo. They had 11 shots to Barcelona's 10, but the fact remains they only have 1 win this season, and they've conceded 23 in 11 games. So this is a porous side. That's the most in La Liga, and subsequently they remain rooted to the bottom of the table. But stats would suggest they aren't as bad as that at first reflection. Now, they are 13th in the table for shots per game, 12th for shots conceded, and expected points suggest they should be 5.8 points better off, which would put them 15th, level with Valencia at the moment. So, not getting the rub of the green, and that tends to happen when you've got no standout players in your side. Now, some of their players did perform on the day, though, which is 29-year-old centre-back Alex Galaves, who made 9 tackles and interceptions before being removed in the 71st minute. That sounds quite clinical, doesn't it, before being removed? I think he was just substituted. For Barca, Lenglet was solid in this game. 64 passes, 97% pass act, 7 tackles and interceptions. But the fact he has to put up those defensive numbers against a team like Rayo would suggest that Barcelona are still very defensively suspect. I think at the start of this season, they, by expected goals, should be conceding over 1 goal a game, which hasn't been the case for a Barcelona side since the early noughties. And one thing that Lucho probably didn't get credit for with his Barcelona sides was that they were very defensively sound.
Yeah.
I think they only conceded 15, 16 goals one season, which is absolutely ridiculous. So it wasn't not too far off them being awesome in that regard. But we kind of do expect that to plateau, I guess. Now, with Coutinho strangely off colour in this game, 0 dribbles, 0 key passes and just 1 shot. And Messi still injured, it was left for Luis Suarez to carry the attack. And he delivered in full, 6 shots in this game, 4 on target, 2 goals, and he hit the post. Now, next up for Rayo, a slightly easy game, playing 16th place Villarreal, who are struggling as well this term. And Barca travelled to Milan to play Inter, like we said before hosting Betis. So, easier fixtures for both, well, not both, coming up for Rayo. So, yeah.
Our second and final losers of the week are Monaco. This comes from @Dara Gwynny. Sorry if I've butchered that. Thierry Henry having a nightmare start back home in Monaco.
Yeah, he's still waiting for his first victory in charge. Pato losing 1-0 away to Reims this week, subsequently resulting in their 7th league defeat in total. Ugly scenes at the start of this campaign. Both teams ended the game with 10 men as well. Reims midfielder Ramal shown a straight red for a nasty challenge on Youssef A. Benassa, while Monaco substitute Pele was sent off for 2 quick bookings in the second half. Not what you need, is it? Your substitute getting sent off when you're chasing your first victory as a new boss. It's going horribly so far for him. Never mind, let's move on. Monaco have now been down to 10 men as well in both defeats under Henry, just to rub salt in the proverbial wound. Now, although the French champions had the majority of possession in this game and a much higher pass accuracy, Reims actually pretty ropey in that regard in this game. They only managed 1 shot on target, while Stade Rennes had 4. They now sit 19th in the league. So, on Sunday Vibes, when I said, listen, it can't go any worse for Henry when he comes in. Monaco are better than 18th. They've got a decent squad. They'll get out of this. They've subsequently just fallen a place. So it can get worse than 18th, and it's happened, 19th. Avoiding bottom spot on goal difference. Guingamp lost 5-0 to Nantes on Sunday, so Nantes doing them an absolute favour. Now, this has been their worst start to a league campaign since they were relegated in 2011, where they still managed to have 6 more points at this stage than they do now, which is pretty damning, isn't it?
That's amazing.
Now, this is the first time they've had just 1 win at this point in the league since the early 90s. Not really much more for you to say other than this was an absolute
Well, Henry said after the game, this evening was not about tactics, it was about a lack of desire. If you don't win any duels, then it's difficult to win a football match. I think that sounds like a fantastically stupid thing for him to say. I mean, it was a bad appointment in the first place, but when you look at the stats of the game, I think they were a man up for about 20 minutes, and they still ended the game, I think, with 5 or 6 total shots. So if you're only producing that number of shots, unless you've genuinely got a team that is by far the worst in the division, then it is a managerial issue. It is a tactical issue. We saw better stats than that from, you know, teams like Spal and Frosinone and what was the team? Benevento last season had better shot numbers than that. So Thierry Henry probably needs to look at himself. Fans tried to get on the pitch to shout at the players and Henry, so they are not delighted. Fortunately, there's only about 25 of them, so it's not a major issue. What they do, they pay their driver to go on the pitch and shout at Thierry Henry. Anyway, next up, they've got Club Bruges in the Champions League. So, God, you'd hope that they can maybe pick up a win there. But in the league, their next game, PSG, who obviously won their 12th consecutive league game at the weekend, setting a new record in Europe's top 5 leagues.
Oh, God.
So that one, I mean, it does seem like it'll probably be a bloodbath. But
lambs to the slaughter.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. Anyway, Monaco in our losers, thoroughly deserved.
Last but not least, we have Star of the Week. This week, it's a little-known Belgian forward called Dries Mertens. Tell me more.
He got a hat-trick as Napoli thrashed Empoli 5-1 to stay within 6 points of leaders Juve. Now, the star of their season so far has been Lorenzo Insigne, and he opened the scoring, got his 7th of the season after Koulibaly's surging run from deep. Mertens then curled in from 25 yards, and though Empoli were able to pull one back after the break, Mertens quickly restored the 2-goal advantage with another beauty from range. Arkadiusz Milik came on in the 83rd minute for Zielinski, got the 4th 6 minutes later, and Mertens completed his hat-trick, rounding the keeper after a superb counter-attack just to cap it off. Now, no one has scored more than Napoli so far this season, 24 league goals. That's level with Juve. Very, very good. And they've actually scored 3 or more goals in 5 of their 11 Serie A games. So it's nice that Ancelotti's doing what he always does. He's a good... I don't know, it's good...
Facilitator.
Well, it's good, like, consistency. He's a good caretaker. He takes what a team is and he maintains it. And they're an attacking powerhouse and he's absolutely played into that. And he's said, you know what, Alan, you're our defender. You defend everything. Everybody else, just score some goals. It seems to be working.
Yeah, and Mertens is scoring at a frightening rate, isn't he? He managed to score 18 league goals last campaign and 22 in all competitions. And whilst impressive, that was still down from his outrageous season he had as a false number 9 the year before, where he got 28 and 34 overall. But off like a rocket again this campaign, and maybe Ancelotti coming in, he's rising to the challenge yet again and sort of flourishing, isn't he? Post 30 years old, he's got 7 and assisted 3 in just 11 Serie A games so far. Only Piatek and Immobile on 9 and 8 respectively have netted more, and no one can match his average of a goal every 89 minutes. So doing it in a more limited amount of time. Even more impressive considering that Ancelotti is carefully managing his workload, which obviously plays into his minutes, with just 5 of those 11 appearances being starts. And whilst his shot statistics are slightly down from the year before, so 2.3, which is actually pretty significant, isn't it? From 3.4 in 17-18.
Yeah, that's a drop.
His creativity is still top-notch with 2 key passes a game. I mean, that only starting 5 times out of 11 is going to contribute heavily towards that. But like you said, Lorenzo Insigne, 7 goals. I think he only got 8 last campaign. So he's maybe shouldering the responsibility as that kind of final forward a little bit more. One weird trend though, 3 of his 7 league goals this season have been from outside the box, the same as he managed in 38 league appearances last term. So he's banging them from distance.
That'll come back, yeah.
Yeah, if the Little Donkeys are to challenge Juve in true for the title, they'll need Mertens and Insigne to keep firing, won't they? But do you think that Napoli stand a chance, guys? Let us know in the poll just above. So that was your roundup for another week, guys. Pato, what else is across the Football Daily platforms?
You should stay right here on Euro Football Daily and check out Stat Wars The League, which is still in full effect. Some very exciting matchups. And I believe there's FDFC's match against AFTV. Is that over on Football Daily?
It is. It went live Sunday. Watch me chase around better players not getting anywhere near the ball.
Bye.
See ya.